Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show, 10,000 Heroes. I'm Ankur Shah Delight, and my interview today is just amazing. It's with Micah Lapidus and Melvin Myles. And Mike has been an old friend of mine, for almost 22 years or something like that. And he's just an incredible musician. And this episode is really the template for how I want every other interview episode to be. And it's not going to be like that because not everybody is a performer, but it's this perfect hybrid of deep conversation, spiritual conversation, philosophy, something really about what it is to be Micah and to be Melvin and the questions we're all wrestling with, and really awesome music. So there's this artistic elevation of the conversation, and it's a dialogue between the music and the conversation, And I love it. And I want to structure everything like that. And I know I'm not going to be able to, but let's just be grateful for this. So really excited to share it with you. And I really encourage you to check out both of their work. They're amazing, amazing people and amazing musicians. And they're part of an interfaith collaboration in Atlanta between a Jewish rabbi and Protestant church there, Ebenezer Baptist church. So that's that. Just a little warning. We start the interview in mid-conversation, and it's because Melvin is a little bit late because he has to do an audition for this TV show called The Voice that Micah told me about. And apparently, if he gets this audition, he's going to be on TV. And we start with talking about the impact of that on their work if it happens. So that's just the intro there. All right, let's get started. Before we begin this episode, I want to put in a quick word from our sponsor, me. We got the name for this podcast from the mission of Momentum Lab, our coaching program. We are both incubating the next generation of heroes and the next step in the evolution of consciousness. If you listen to the show, you're already a part of that process. Thank you. So if you haven't already, sign up for the newsletter to get insights, tools, and inspiration on living a purposeful, visionary, and impactful life. And if it ever dawns on you that that's easier to do with a community of excellence urging you on, that it can make the difference in you achieving your personal goals, check out Momentum Lab. Okay, back to the show.
In the world where people care if you've been on television or not.
Yeah. But now as I get more into that world, or this world of material accomplishments, it will be a really good vehicle for your message, right? People will then hear your spiritual songs and they'll have their minds.
Our only hope is one, that we as a species are able to maintain control of the platforms and not the other way around, which is debatable, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that we're just getting totally skull fucked by everything and it's a lost cause. And then, I'd say, a next level goal would be that people with a constructive, redemptive, truthful, loving agenda would be at least as sophisticated, if not more sophisticated, than all the trolls and shit kickers out there in terms of, populating those, using those platforms to, increase consciousness, make life better, that sort of thing. So, definitely. Definitely think there's a lot of benefits playing the game if you got the stomach for it.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to a question that maybe could be the first official question here. And as a person who studied this, as a rabbi, as a respected elder, give me your perspective, and maybe the mainline perspective from your teaching, or maybe just be Micah's perspective, on why some people's agendas are not aligned with love and truth and beauty.
I love that question. I think at the end of the day, and this is perhaps a generic answer or reductionist, but I think there are basically two emotional wells from which we draw and from which all sort of other emotions and kind of behaviors, I would say, are sort of secondary reactions. And I think it's basically love and fear. Yeah. So I think basically people are operating out of love or out of fear. And so secondary emotions out of love, compassion, empathy, respect, humor, curiosity, etc. A million things stem from love, and then from fear, hate, basically hate, And so I'd say, unfortunately, some people are just can't find the love. And so they go to this other sort of natural well from which they can draw. Hey, it's Melvin. And as a result, we got a lot of people doing a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
Sorry for my tardiness.
Oh, Melvin.
All right.
Melvin, this is Encore.
Encore. Nice to meet you, Encore.
Oh, I'm so happy to
love
meet
that
you.
name. Yep, I got him.
Good.
Fantastic.
Yep. I love your name.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Do you know what it means?
What does it
Encore.
mean?
It means it's the process of blossoming. So it's the process of a bud opening into a flower.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I really like
Very
that.
nice.
Yeah, I really like that too. When I was a kid, I did not like that because there was a TV show with a girl named Blossom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's an association there that I didn't like as a teenager. But now
Yeah.
I like the Blossom thing.
Yeah. Blossoming is awesome.
Yeah, but always.
And
blossom.
Mayim Bialik is heroic, at least in the eyes of the Jewish community.
What is heroic?
Mayim Bialik, Blossom,
Oh.
the character of Blossom.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's outspoken on anti-Semitism and like very proud of her Jewishness and very progressive and very intelligent, like well educated. She's really she was on the Big Bang Theory, and
Right.
And then she was hosting Jeopardy, I think, or may still be hosting.
Oh, I had
Jeopardy.
no idea. Yeah, I didn't know anything. I've totally moved on from that. Yeah, totally. I had no idea. Like the fact that you know her name is crazy to me.
Well, Jews, we'd like to celebrate the accomplishments of our people whenever possible.
Yeah. And maybe you just like to celebrate in general, which is something I love too.
Oh yeah, well that as well.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
always great.
Yeah.
It's always great to celebrate.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm so happy to be here with you both. I'm so happy to meet you, Melvin. It's great.
Nice meeting you as well. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, I wonder if we should start with a song, and then I'll get a little
Yeah.
introduction of the two of you, and then we'll just go right into some deep philosophy and some of the most powerful moments of your adult lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that. I think you're wound up.
Yeah,
Out of the cafe doing some music.
Right.
Why don't we try this song called "I Was Not Silent"?
Absolutely.
Kind of good setting the vibe.
I was not silenced by the darkness. I was not frightened by the storm. I wasn't broken by the violence. I found freedom in the form. I was not swept up by the madness. I was not sunken by the storm. I was not crushed beneath the weight. I was not abandoned and left alone. Oh, no, no. I will not be silenced. Oh, no, 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 no. I will not be silent. I was not thrown off by the challenge or deflated by the task. I was not weary from the hour. I was not the first, won't be the last. I was not swept beneath the weight or paralyzed with fear. I was not deafened by the noise, and I am not afraid to hear, not afraid to hear. I will not bend before the tyrant. I will not bow before the king. I won't be silenced by the darkness. I will not weep when I can sing. Oh, I will not be silent. I will not be silent. I will not be silent.
Wow. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you. Thank you.
you can tell it doesn't take a lot to get us going.
Wow. So this might just be prejudice on my part or association because you're in Atlanta. But I mean, the whole time you guys were playing that, I was thinking of Martin Luther King Jr. Is there any relation in your mind between that song and that history where you are?
Somewhat, yeah, somewhat, because well, originally the way Michael wrote it, it was biblical, and in a way, it still is kind of biblical. But when I saw it, and when George Floyd, all of that happened in 2019, was it 2019 or 2020? It all of the social justice, social rights, civil rights, all of that came out of it. And I am a member of Ebenezer with Dr. King, where he used to be the associate pastor there. But all of those civil rights, everything came up when I read these words, when I saw these words. I'm not about to be silent anymore about anything that I might be afraid of. The darkness, yeah, I won't be silenced about that anymore. Violence that I see, I won't be silenced about that anymore. And I'm not going to allow anyone to silence me as well. So yeah, there's very significant Dr. King, peaceful and all of that. Yeah, civil rights, all of that is what I feel when I sing this song.
And all to that I would add is just that Melvin reference, yeah, it's biblical. And it's based on a somewhat mysterious passage from the book of Job that translated into English means something along the lines of "I was not silenced by the darkness." So but the Hebrew phrase is a little bit cryptic, and I won't necessarily go into it. But
Dude,
I think it's
go into it. Get into let's open up the crypt.
Well, but kind of what's more interesting rather than the Hebrew grammar lesson is just that a lot of what I think is moving to me or keeps me coming back to the well of religion and Judaism in particular, sort of Bible, is the fact that it's a vehicle for talking about the issues that Melvin was referencing, but doing it in a way that is, if not apolitical, kind of offers a different entry point than the usual sort of political sort of conversation. So Reverend Warnock, who's another luminary and reference point for the two of us, again, by virtue of Melvin's connection to Ebenezer and us being in Atlanta, never forget a talk he gave at the temple for one of the interfaith worship services where Melvin and I kind of have our origin story. And he kept on going off and off and off, and then, getting the crowd all worked up and say, but I'm just talking about scripture. I'm just preaching the Bible. And I mean, everyone understood what he was saying, which is, he's talking about whatever the issue of the day was, and we have so many to choose from. But the fact of the matter is that a flawed document, absolutely. Complicated, been abused and misinterpreted throughout history, absolutely. But at the end of the day, like, if you really read the Bible, truth, love, justice, compassion, life of the spirit, humility, like, it's all there.
Yeah.
And so as people of faith, the two of us, to use that, if not as certainly not the only starting point, but as a frame of reference for the work that we do, I think just adds layers of depth and meaning to the song. Like, I'd like to think that passage from the book of Job has been used for millennia as a way of asserting our sort of spiritual autonomy in the face of very dark and very challenging circumstances, and that we're just one musical duo, for lack of a better word, who's inspired by that. And that there were others in that, and that if it wasn't from the book of Job, then it was from Exodus, love the stranger. And if it wasn't from Exodus, it was from Genesis. This whole world was created, and we're a part of creation, and we're here to tend and to care for and to protect it. So to just think about anchoring some of our messages in those deep truths, I think, is something that we're finding is that resonates with people.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much I love about that. One of the things, this is part of my story as a guy, from my family's from India. I grew up in a town that was heavily like Christian fundamentalist with basically very few other Indian people. And so I was pretty alienated from religion, and I had a negative experience of religion. So to hear how religion is coming, you from different religious traditions and practices, but it's like bringing you together because of the intersection of like the moral, kind of pre-political moral foundation. It's heartwarming. It's inspiring. It's really positive. It's healing to hear that for me.
Yeah. And I mean, your story is not surprising. And I think as a sort of official practitioner and a clergy person associated with religion, it's not mine to do, but I always feel compelled to apologize on behalf of the miseducated experiences that so many people have with religion, because I mean, it's just lunacy, right? I mean, anybody to lunacy, arrogance, it's so many different things to take the good seeds of religion and instead sow the kinds of negative experiences that you or others experience all too frequently. I guess on some level, religion is probably a neutral power in that respect, because it can be manipulated and abused, obviously, so easily. And so I think that makes it all the more important that for those of us who presume to think that we kind of have a positive take on religion or can use it as a vehicle and as a source of strength for the betterment of our individual lives, for our communities and the world around us, to really assert ourselves into that space, be vigilant and proactive, and really try to get the message out there.
And I would also say, I feel like, man, maybe it's not true for everyone, but I've also had some issues with religion as well. I'm a Christian, of course, and I was raised up in the church and everything, but there's a lot of issues that Christianity, people who say they are Christians, even today, like the evangelicals, everyone has a different view of Christianity and religion, or whatever religion they are. They have different views, different viewpoints. And we all have some type of hurt that we've had done to us, put on us, or whatever, certain stylistics of life. Who knows what every culture goes through in their religion. So I'm with you on that, with the religion having tragic things that happen with you and your religion. Yeah, that's I understand exactly what you're talking about.
I'll just hop on the bandwagon and say part of what propelled me to become a rabbi, I think, was I don't think I had any real trauma growing up in a sort of liberal, progressive California Jewish setting, but certainly had many missed opportunities to see the power and the relevance of religion in my daily life. And sort of the caveat to that, notion that y'all are welcome to disagree with, but one that might be, worth positing is if it's harmful, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's not religion. You can call your bigotry Christianity. You can call your bigotry Judaism. You can call your pettiness or your greed. You can call it whatever religion you want, but fundamentally, just because you call it that doesn't mean that it is. And so I would argue that if something is bad, it's almost by definition, certainly not in the spirit of religion, and may qualify as whatever the opposite of religious is, irreligious, empty.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, wow.
Another song?
Yeah, great.
Speaking of religion, I mean, part of what we love about this song, which is called Hatred Never Ends by Hate, is I think that it just, it articulates one of those great religious truths. I mean, do we need Jesus or Moses or Muhammad or Buddha to impart this wisdom to us? Probably not, but they all did in their own way, as did many sort of modern children of those different traditions. All right, I mean, it's in all of the different traditions, but somehow, even though it's, to me, one of the clearest truths imaginable, we as a species haven't seemed to figure out what to do with the fact that the core message of this song is fundamentally true. So, and this one is very much in the spirit of MLK, who his version of this, I think, was darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can drive out
Right.
darkness.
This is the ancient and eternal law. Hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. And so we walk in our faith and let our love rise like the day. And so we show that we are strong and let our love write our song. Oh, hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. Hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. And so we heed that sacred call and break the yoke that binds us all. And so we vow to carry on. We'll greet the day with vision strong. Hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. Hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. And so we rise from bended knee in the truth that sets us free. Those who worship power with no shame and in plain sight, may they be blinded by the truth and the light. Hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. Hatred never ends by hatred, by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. And so we know that the time is near when nobody shall live in fear, and then no nation will lift up sword, no study war anymore. And then no nation will lift up sword, nor study war anymore. Hatred never ends by hatred, when the love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. Hatred never ends by hatred, when the love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. This is the ancient and eternal law. This is the ancient and eternal law.
Oh man. Okay, so this for me, the whole point of this podcast, it's called 10,000 Heroes, is to just give gifts, to like present like a string of emeralds to the listeners, and each person who does that is a hero, right? And this is like, that was such a gift. I mean, thank you so much. It was so beautiful. And I've known Micah for 22 years, and we've been playing music together, or I've been listening to you play music for that, all of that time since the first day we met. So it's beautiful to have that continuity, and just for this to be the first time we've met, Melvin, and to just be in the presence of your voice, it's like a really gentle and positive slap in the face.
Wow.
Couldn't have said it better. That's so sweet. First of all, yeah.
Wow.
The love that we feel for one another is just such a blessing.
Yeah.
And nothing makes me happier than to introduce Melvin to you, Encore, and Encore to you, Melvin, and to just connect people in this world, which is, one of the one thing that's going to save us is real connection.
Yes.
But I love the phrase "gentle slap in the face" because we thought there's a number of ways we could go with that in terms of the conversation. But yeah, we've got songs, not necessarily that song, but some other songs to talk about. Well, this song, like if you listen to the lyrics of this song, we're calling you out, we're calling everybody out, we're calling ourselves out.
Yeah.
But it's so much greater likelihood that whatever truth we're trying to speak or trying to pass along, when it's done with humor, when it's done with kindness, when it's done with irony, and when it's done with music, that's just such a greater likelihood of doing the work that we needed to do in this world. So we love that. I think that I'd say is one piece of the equation. And then another piece of the equation, which may or may not be relevant to this conversation at this time, sort of the why of us doing original music when there's so much incredible music that already exists. And I think it's for us, knowing that if we were to show up in a community or at a gathering and be doing the classics of the civil rights era, it wouldn't have the power, it wouldn't have the authenticity, it wouldn't have the relevance, and it would be kind of a nostalgia tour. And we just, that's not what we're interested in doing. We'd rather be, I think like you said, a gentle slap in the face. And so I think that compels us to write music, which we do at a pretty rapid click and are always trying to find opportunities to do so. Melvin and I are doing a Zoom concert this evening, and the person who's hosting us, asked, "Do you have any songs on this theme?" And amazingly, the theme was light. And I was like, well, we have a lot of songs about silence. We already shared one of those, but we don't have a lot of songs that deal with themes of light and darkness. It just hasn't been our preferred metaphor, but it's December and the light is fading and the holidays of the winter are all about light. And so I was like, you know what? We need to write some songs about light. And we're able to do that. And I think that allows us to come to the concert this evening excited to share something new.
Yeah.
And to be, kind of in the moment and deeply immersed in the creative process.
Yeah.
And what I love about Micah's music, all of it just about is centered around love. Just like this song we just did. Hatred never ends by hatred, but by love alone is healed. All of the songs are pretty much based on love and in love and how to love and who to love. All of that is intertwined, and that's why, and I appreciate you writing this type of music, because this really touches on everything that envelops me, who I am today. As far as what I want to present to the world.
Well, I know the only way I'm going to keep you around is if I keep on writing at the highest level, and writing songs for you, because the world keeps knocking at your door, which is great because that's I know once the font of inspiration dries up, I'm going to be like, what happened to Melvin? Like turn on the TV, there he is.
He just won The Voice, right? That's what's going to happen.
Or American Idol, or any number of high profile singing competitions. He's let
me ask you guys this. You're both, I'm imagining this is not your only project. I know, Micah, you're also a rabbi, you're at school. I actually don't know what your other projects are, Melvin, but I'm sure that you're doing something in addition to hanging out and playing inspiring music with Micah. What can you do in terms of your mission, your message to the world? What can you do with this music that you can't do with your other ways of expressing yourselves?
Oh, what can I do with the music that I cannot do with other? I really feel like all of this, it's all in one jar for me. everything, my entire life, everything that I do outside of what Micah and I does, it's all based on trying to get better, have better for our community, our people, love, trying to spread love, trying to share love. That's pretty much, I mean, music is all I do now. I mean, so I don't have any other like any other jobs or anything. So
Okay, so it's all through music for you. You've just you've gotten directly to the highest level.
that's how that's how I feel like I can most touch the world and help try to heal as much as much as the devastation and all this wrongness, all this hatred, all this evilness that's going on. This is the only way that I know how I can help, how I can reach somebody, is through music.
Well, I think there's an alignment that's happened for you, which is that through a God-given gift and through your own family's commitment to music and through conscious choices that you've made. So a lot of people, I have a theory, Ankur, I'm sure you agree, and Melvin, we may have talked about this in one of our many airport meals or something like that as we're in music, but I think everyone is an artist. I think artist is like human being and artist are almost synonyms on some.
Yeah.
And then I think the tragedy of life, and speaking as an educator, is one, they cut the arts budgets everywhere, left and right. But two, even more than that, I think our need to create art is so profound that budgetary priorities, miseducative experiences, all that somehow many people still find their artistic expression. But when someone says to you, "Oh, I'm not an artist, I'm not a this, I'm not a that," I just know on some really deep level, either that they have experienced a tremendous trauma that leads them to that conclusion, or they just haven't found the artistic medium through which they're meant to express themselves. I think, the dumb example is I started on the piano and eventually switched to the guitar. But how many people out there say I'm not an artist, but that's because no one ever taught them how to be a cinematographer. No one ever taught them how to work in a black room. No one ever taught them how to pick up a pen and write free verse poetry. So the fact that you have found that such alignment between your God-given gift, your career, your et cetera, is extraordinary.
And it's not for lack of trying. I tried to do work, work like
I tried to get out of this creative self-expression.
A seminar with Melvin Myles.
I tried for years not to be my best and not to contribute. And if I gave up and I succumbed to the call of purpose.
Hysterical.
I mean, I had to. I didn't have any other choice.
That's right. You got to pay the bill. The other piece of this is just to kind of come back to the question of what can we do here versus other. First of all, I think it's really, I encourage myself and try to remind myself that try to integrate all the experiences in life and the good and the bad, be grateful for it all, welcome it all, and ultimately kind of show up the same way in a lot of different times and spaces. For starters, show up to a happy time and a sad time in the same way, present, compassionate, emotionally aware, relationally minded. So there's that whole integrated integration of life experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then something that I'm acutely aware of with Melvin, this is sometimes people want to know, and maybe it's a topic for another time, or this time, where do the songs come from, and blah, 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 blah. And how do you write the songs? And it's a lengthy answer, but one important piece of that is that Melvin says, "Oh, the songs that Micah writes." But these songs would not be written if it wasn't for Melvin, that we are in a very deep synergy here. There are words that I can write, but that I would never be able on my own, or highly unlikely on my own, or certainly without the same level of joy. With Melvin, what am I going to do? Pick up my guitar and sing "I was not silenced by the darkness," or "Hatred never ends by hatred"? I need at this point, or I'm aware that Melvin completes the cycle. And so the music that I may do, may be the primary person who's doing the typing of the lyrics, kind of jotting down a basic melody, but it's all with Melvin in mind. I mean, he's with me.
And what does that process look like? Is it just kind of while you're hanging out, the kind of ideas flow back and forth, or is it more conscious?
We kind of do those experiences.
Yeah.
I think part of what's exciting to me is that when we do music, Zoom is a very uptight platform, and it's just the three of us, and so there's like an odd intimacy and an odd kind of technological edifice that's going on here. But something that we enjoy is, while the songs certainly have an emotional landscape, they're really never the same twice. I mean, there are subtleties to Melvin's voice. Our songs, in my opinion, are influenced by world events. Sometimes songs become more urgent or less urgent, depending on what's going on in the world. And when we're really in a free and creative place, which is more often than not when it's just the two of us, but sometimes with other people in the room, the way that we develop the songs and kind of jam them out and end up doing some vocal riffing and bantering and exploration and things like that. Those are special moments. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's really great sometimes to be able to just be free with your creativity. Just sit in this room like this and just do it. Just try stuff. That's the point of being a creative.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it.
All right. More music.
Yeah, more music.
All right. Well, hold on. We gotta talk now, because what do we want to do? Actually, you want to try one of these songs that we wrote for tonight, this Tubeless Darkness? See if we can dust that off. It doesn't have to be perfect, does it not?
No, I mean, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
It can only be. This has to be. This has to be this moment. That's all.
You play it one time through. To my left and to my right, darkness sits where once was light. All at once darkness surrounds. There is silence beneath the sound. To my left and to my right, darkness sits as dark as night. At my feet, before my eyes, shadows fall and darkness lies. To this darkness I will sing a song of love, my offering. To this darkness I will sing a love profound, my offering, my offering. Of this darkness I describe, who among us would deny? To reveal, to touch, to feel, it's a force both true and real. Defy we must in ways our own, just as seeds of light are sown. A single candle lights with hope in those lights. With hope renewed, we greet the night. To this darkness, I will sing a song of love, my offering. To this darkness, I will sing a love profound, my offering. To this darkness I will sing a song of love, my offering, my offering, my offering.
Wow.
So that's what a song that we've wrote this week, and only had a chance to practice once. So.
Right.
Amazing. It's it's operating on so many levels, right?
It reminds me of what you shared about this is about us and our offerings. I mean, how we create a culture or community or an ethos where people are generous and where people have the kind of spiritual resilience to, regardless of the circumstances, or maybe even because of the circumstances of the darkness, whatever it may be, to love, to sing, to share, to have their offering. I think we're interested in create. We don't want. I think we view what we're doing as an offering, and so all we want in response is an offering back.
And this song is speaking love to the darkness. People people always think of darkness as evil or something bad. But here in this song, we're speaking love directly to the darkness. To this darkness, I will sing. I'm going to sing to my darkness. That's deep to me.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm gonna give my darkness a gift of love.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the darkness will bring an offering in return.
Yeah, it's so inclusive. Like the things that we normally try and push away and then suffer because of it. Because of that the aversion to actually be like, oh no, I'm gonna learn from this moment, or I'm gonna offer something to that, or
right, the allergy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another thing that we appreciate, I was just listening to something today, and the person referenced Bob Dylan. Apparently Bob Dylan said, never give up, never give them 100%, like pull back a little bit. But the person, that's a liberating, to me in this moment, that's very liberating, because sometimes with Melvin said, we got to rehearse, we got to this, we got to that, we got to really, but the truth is the song that we mess up, or the time that we stumble, or when we take a chance and maybe stumble a little bit, that juxtaposed with Melvin's incredible voice, and with, I think, the fact that a lot of these songs, really by no credit of our own, just convey a certain earnestness and true emotional and spiritual content. I think there's, I feel comfortable kind of saying that at this point, having been involved in music and in spiritual and religious study for a long time. So, kind of a long way of saying that, the fact that we can bring imperfection, I think, is something that only draws people closer. When we stumble, when we're doing good trouble, and start singing on the wrong note or something.
Oh yeah.
When Melvin messes something up, you feel like you really just saw something amazing. This guy could read the phone book and sound like,
I'm starting to embrace the mess ups now.
You got to.
Yeah. Because life is not perfect. So there are going to be mess ups.
Mm-hmm.
So, just embrace it and learn from it.
Yeah.
Grow from it.
There's a really beautiful thing. This is, again, we talked about connection a little bit earlier, and that's a big focus of my life as well. And there's these things that normally in our culture we see as like, oh, we shouldn't do. But actually, they just invite deeper connection. So like one of those things is asking for help. People are so loath to ask for help. I was talking to a friend yesterday who's pregnant, and I was like, hey, you got to milk this. You got to ask everyone you know for help for everything, because we're just dying. We're all dying to help a pregnant lady do something. It's like, it's a contribution to somebody's life. If you're like, hey, come over and help me clean my kitchen. And it's like, oh yeah, I got to help my pregnant friend clean her kitchen. It's just like, what else is going to bring us more joy? And I think it's a similar thing with messing up. If you guys, whether you want to or not, you are on a pedestal, you're on a stage, right? You're giving a performance, you're in the spotlight, you're like the hallowed people. And if you can have a moment where you mess up and you can show yourself humor and compassion in front of all these thousands of people that are watching, like that might be the lesson they take home from that whole concert.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. And it's also, it's also the real moment. Apropos the thing about asking for help and all of that. I mean, most of my professional life is spent primarily interacting with children because I'm an educator and I work in a K-8 school. And man, I remind myself of that on a regular basis. Like, there's nothing that a child would rather do than pick up the eraser and clear the whiteboard. It's like, I could have done it.
Yeah.
I probably could have done it quicker, but like just the other day, that's the most recent example in my mind, because I specifically left, the whiteboard had all this writing on it. I was like, hey, a few of you mind helping me like do the whiteboard? And these kids were elbowing each other to grab the eraser, So I think there's also just a shout out, and in general, I think I try to remember to bring up kind of children and the importance of what we can learn from children, and recognizing that on some level, certainly, I think in the eyes of God, and in some, and I think our soul knows this. I mean, there's an element of the child also alive and well inside of each of us, and so generally, if it works for kids, we should give it serious consideration and think about if and why that particular modality isn't showing up in our adult lives, what we can do to bring that back. But yeah, helping one another out, that's a great example, because I'm surrounded by hundreds of small beings who all they want to do is be helpful to the adults in their lives, and sometimes even to their fellow classmates.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. I just think of the times where, like, I'm busy. I've got like my job and a family and all these other projects. But if someone calls me and is like, hey, can you play bass on this track that I'm making? I'd be like, yes, I will drop anything to do that.
I don't know if that's you being a helper or you live in your rock and roll lifestyle.
Especially at like my level, my quality of bass playing, I'm like, oh, what an honor, right? Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe we should do one of our most beloved of songs for the two of us, and one of my favorite words in the Hebrew, the hitro, which is doesn't mean goodbye, I mean see you later.
Yes. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you so much. It's great to talk to you guys both. Really nice to meet you, Melvin. And thank you so much for this gift of your music. And
thanks for having us. And thanks for making that conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
I look forward to more.
The two of you are going to be good friends.
Oh yeah, I feel it.
Don't forget about me. This song is called Better Angels. And I think the origin story of this song is probably worthwhile. I wrote the song on Inauguration Day.
For President Biden. Okay.
President Biden's inauguration. It's called Better Angels. In his inaugural address, he referenced Lincoln talking about better angels. And the minute he said that, it was a very emotional experience watching the inauguration. So with my wife, my daughter, the installation of Kamala Harris as the first female vice president, and a number of other emotions, which I think are probably fairly familiar to anyone who is kind of paying attention and thinking about the world that we're creating for our children. And fortunately, I had studio time booked that night. And so the song was written and recorded that evening and released the following day. But unfortunately, Melvin and I hadn't teamed up quite as deeply at that point as we had now. And so then I sent it to Melvin to want to get his thoughts on it. He's like, oh, I could do this song. And I was like, that's the exact thought. That's the exact thought that I wanted to hear. So I'll just read the quote that it came from in I think it's minute 7.5 minutes into his inaugural address. Through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War, 9/11, through struggle, sacrifice, and setbacks, our better angels have always prevailed. In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. So.
Let our better angels spread their wings as the human heart she sings and sings sweet melodies her music brings where love flows there to hope springs. Let our angels guide our hearts. Where love flows, our healing starts. But each of us must play our part. Let our better angels guide our hearts. Better angels guide our hearts. Let our better angels light our eyes. Let compassion flow and beauty rise. Awakening, we realize. Let our better angels light our eyes. Let our better angels bless our hands. Tomorrow's dream, today we'll plan. We'll set our sights on visions grand. Let our better angels bless our hands. Better angels bless our hands. Let our better angels bless this hour as we gather in our power. Love will blossom, bloom and flower. Let our better angels bless this hour. Let our better angels bring us home. When we stand together, we're not alone. For the righteous light is sown. Let our better angels bring us home. Better angels bring us home. Better angels bring us home.
Hi everyone, this is Martin, your producer. I just want to take a minute to thank our guests for joining us today, and also to thank you all for listening. 10,000 Heroes is brought to you by Momentum Lab, our year-long coaching program. Let me introduce you to the team. Pierre does our artwork, DJ Plainview composed our theme music, and I handled all the editing and sound design. Also, if you like the show, please follow it, rate it, tell all your friends, and reach out to us somehow. We love communication. All of this really help us make the impact we want to make. And now we're closing down this episode with a word from our main sponsor, who also happens to be our host, Anchor.
And now a message from our sponsor, me again. 10,000 Heroes is brought to you by Momentum Lab. I normally refer to Momentum Lab as a coaching program or a goal accelerator, but it's really more like a master's degree in life. When you join Momentum Lab, we help you get crystal clear on what it is you actually want, who you want to be, what you want to do, and how you want to contribute. And then we get into all the painful details of what has been blocking you this whole time. And then we give you the knowledge, the tools, and the support you need to get there. Sometimes that's a spreadsheet, sometimes it's a mindset hack, sometimes it's a lecture, and sometimes it's a hug. Our only attachment is to your higher self. So, when you're ready to be the next version of yourself, in your business, for your family, or just for your own sense of fulfillment, drop me a line.